Sri Lanka occupies 517,000 square kilometers of the Indian Ocean. Since ancient times, the sea and lagoon-based fishing industry has been the lifeblood of a majority of people living in the coasts. Today, about 250,000 of them have embraced fishing as their livelihood. The trade also helps about 1 million others survive on a day-to-day basis. Statistics show the fishing industry had contributed 2.6% to Sri Lanka's GDP in 2003. The foreign earnings of the same year amounted to 9,542 million rupees. While the fishing industry could be categorized into large and small scale within the national economy, it contributes immensely to gross domestic product and is a vital component to foreign exchange. The country finds most of its nutritional proteins in fish. Accordingly, 65% of Sri Lanka's population depends on fish for protein-based nutrition. While there are different classes of people engaged in the fishing industry, most of them are low-income earners. They make a living out of bare minimal facilities. Incidentally, the larger portion of the sea and lagoon-based fishing trade in Sri Lanka is made up of such groups. Women too contribute in a large way to the local fishing industry, and their contribution varies throughout the country's coasts. Apart from attending to day-to-day activities of the family, a woman's role within the fishing community ranges from sailing out to sea to selling the day's catch. As a result, she is accorded high priority in the fishing community, given her experiences with the home front and skills in childcare. On the 26th of December 2004, Sri Lanka experienced its worst nightmare as 2/3 of the country's coastline was destroyed by a tsunami. The disaster bore a magnitude never before seen in the country's history. There was a massive loss of life and unimaginable destruction to property. The South Asian tsunami of 2004 left the fishing industry and its communities the worst affected.
The post-tsunami reconstruction has set a huge challenge and task before Sri Lanka as a nation. It's also commendable the number of organizations, government organizations, non-governmental organizations, private sector, came forward to share the responsibilities of rebuilding. But the important point is to ensure, when many organizations are involved in rebuilding, how to ensure the rebuilding efforts are, the rebuilding efforts of all these organizations consider the community requirements, community specific development approaches, how to ensure the right relationship with the environment in terms of long-term sustainable development, how to ensure the conflict sensitivity is taken into consideration in the rebuilding. ITDG as an organization decided to create capacity and knowledge among these organizations to ensure the concerns I mentioned before taken into consideration in rebuilding programs. So mainly we are focusing on providing information on such successful approaches through our experience and the experience gained from other organizations to build capacities of other organizations. We have geared our rebuilding program to do that. We know the most affected community by the tsunami is the small scale fisheries communities living in coastal areas in the South Asian region. They have been one of the poor categories of communities in this region. So ITDG wanted to work with this community, particularly small scale fisheries communities, because of this reason. So our approach always ensures that their needs, that their future aspirations, the future of the small scale fisheries industry is taken into consideration. It is not their participation in terms of labor, but their participation in terms of their ideas and their the knowledge they have gained through generations.
As a result, there is a growing need for a process of development that is based on the fishing community, that suits the needs of the fishing industry and makes use of the knowledge of the fishermen who was severely affected by the tsunami. As a result of this methodology, Practical Action has been able to successfully put in place a program to produce rafts and boats for small-scale fishermen of the north, south, and east who were badly affected. Let's take a look at the process of one such program designed for the fishing community. Practical Action officials built up communication with the fishermen, observed and listened to their ideas.
We need to take into account actually two key aspects. Those are actually how to produce a seaworthy canoe or boat or fishing gear, and how to select a genuine beneficiary out of a fisher community. In Sri Lanka, the design of a canoe or boat or fishing gear differs from one particular fishing landing site to other. So taking these things into account, how we can do it is actually consult the community. Since they have a lot of experience, since they've been practicing this for a long time, so based on their experience, they know what type of canoe, what type of gear, or what type of boat that they need in their particular landing site. They know that based on their experience. And when it comes to beneficiary selection, actually this is something which is politically corrupted. What we could do is actually we can get the beneficiary list, or maybe the name of the beneficiaries from the fisheries ministry, and we need to verify it from within the community itself. And in that open committee meeting, we can verify the beneficiary list that we get from the fisheries ministry. So that is the process that actually we could recommend, which would lead to a very better beneficiary selection. And if you involve the community, like I said earlier, to identify a canoe or maybe a boat that is required by the community, then we can produce seaworthy canoes or boats that are sort of cut out for that particular landing site.
The fishermen themselves had to decide on the fishing boats, designs and rafts that had to be produced in each of these areas under the project.
Practical Action and the Senior Institute came forward and gave us these two moldings. We decided to go for the small rafts. The small rafts make it easier to cast nets. The big boats make it difficult for us to cast nets. There are times when two fishermen travel in these small rafts. These rafts suit the Panama Lagoon conditions well. There are also times when just one person travels in the lagoon. So it's difficult to take a big boat. So we decided altogether that the small rafts were ideal.
With experience gained over a long period of time and the basic knowledge and expertise they possess, a selected group of their choice is trained among them in producing fiber rafts. As a result, these fishermen will be able to build their own rafts with their own labor. The technical persons from the organization are always there to guide them with advice to perfect their skill of production.
Since the raft molds are produced in the villages themselves using our technology, a certification could be easily obtained for everything they make. All boats and rafts constructed by our institute are handed over to the fishermen with the certificate only after the vessels are certified by the fisheries superintendent. There is a huge benefit for fishermen who register themselves. Supposing there is a disaster again, he will be able to claim all the benefits provided by the government along with boats and engines. At the time we move from one village to another, the fishermen who trained will have the skill and experience to build boats and rafts on their own. These are some of the rafts from Practical Action. The training we have gained has given us the capability to build our own rafts in the future. When our boats cracked in the past, we had to go to a professional to get it repaired. Now we can do it ourselves. Practical Action and CNOR conducted a training camp on lagoon rafts. Apart from that, there was also a workshop on sea rafts, which ends today. So for us, this training has enabled us to repair a boat or to make one ourselves.
Any industry comprises of a multitude of segments. There is an interrelationship with one another. Every segment is essential for its sustenance. As such, in this case, production of boats and rafts are only one aspect of the fishing trade. And this needs to be taken into account in development programs. One cannot expect the overall development of the fishing industry by only focusing on any one aspect. Proper technology, traditional methodology, and state-of-the-art expertise in fishing, marketing, processing, preserving, transporting have all to be put into good use. Yet ensuring that each of these segments or aspects is tackled in the best possible manner will contribute towards the overall development of the fishing sector. Only then can we stake our claim for a vast contribution towards our nation's development.